Sweetheart, the bread didn't turn out so well. Could you do something about it? I looked up from my trading charts, the words floating in from the kitchen where my father-in-law stood. What do you mean it didn't turn out well? I asked gently. Maybe we need a better oven, love, he added, almost casually. I've seen some good ones on sale lately. I sighed, not out loud, just deep inside the place I kept my exhaustion hidden. Okay, I'll discuss it with Mrs. Stacy. My name is Erica Sun. I'm 35 years old. I work from home as a full-time Forex trader. But if you asked my in-laws what I do, they'd probably say nothing. Ethan, my husband, is 2 years older than me. We met while working at a small mail-order company, he in the pet food department, me in customer service for cosmetics. The job was tough. Long hours, late trains home. But the highlight of our week was always the drinks after those grueling days, sitting in dim pubs with coworkers who felt more like a support group. That was where Ethan and I started to really notice each other, not just as colleagues, but as two people lost in the same chaos, looking for something steady to hold on to. We got married 3 years ago. I left that job shortly after, burned out and unsure what was next. That's when I found Forex trading. Or maybe it found me. I immersed myself, buying books, reading online resources, staying up till 3 a.m. watching candle charts rise and fall like tides. I invested in a high-performance computer, opened a demo account, and started small. My first few months were shaky, but slowly, steadily, I found my rhythm. And then, something clicked. I began to earn. Consistently. When Ethan was still working, we got by on his salary. But as my trading profits grew, I took over the rent and eventually all our living expenses. Dad, Mom, Ethan once told them, Erica's taking care of everything now. You can relax and feel at home. Erica, thank you so much. We appreciate it, they said kindly. But appreciation is not the same as understanding. Last year, Ethan invited his parents to move in with us. His father had just retired, and their public housing apartment was small and aging. Our 3-bedroom condo was spacious and welcoming. Ethan was proud we could afford to help. So was I. I pay the rent. I cover the groceries, utilities, and every small thing that makes this house run. But what they don't see, what they can't seem to understand, is what my job actually is. To them, I sit at a computer all day. I don't cook. I don't clean. I don't sweep or mop or iron shirts. What they don't see is how I wake before sunrise to catch the London market. How I whisper strategies to my blog audience, building a digital library of everything I've learned. They don't see how many nights I've cried quietly when a trade went wrong, how I've sacrificed time and stability to build something real out of numbers and risk. We have a housekeeper, Mrs. Stacy, who is a godsend. She cooks. She cleans. She bakes the bread that didn't turn out today. And yet, the quiet judgment lingers. My mother-in-law eyes the spotless kitchen like it's missing my touch. My father-in-law makes casual remarks about ovens, recipes, women's roles. Sometimes I want to scream, I am not lazy. I am not invisible. I am not wasting my time. But instead, I smile. Because love, real love, is silent endurance. And strength, the kind that lasts, doesn't always announce itself. One day, I hope they see it. Not just the numbers in my account. Not just the rent paid on time, but the nights I stayed up learning, the anxiety I wrestled alone, the courage it took to bet on myself when no one else understood what I was doing. Maybe then, when the bread doesn't turn out right, they'll remember, I wasn't in the kitchen because I was building something bigger than a meal. I was building our life. At first, living with my in-laws felt manageable. They were modest, grateful. My father-in-law would always thank me for the warm meals prepared by Mrs. Stacy, and my mother-in-law even complimented the way our home was always spotless. But that peace lasted 2 months. Then came the whispers, the sideways glances, the closed-door conversations I wasn't supposed to hear. Why doesn't the daughter-in-law do any housework? She's at home all day, just sitting at a computer. Forex? That's just gambling. They never said these things to my face, but I heard them in the way they sighed when I walked by. I saw them in the way they avoided eye contact when I sat down at the table. What hurt more was knowing they brought these complaints to Ethan, my husband, the man who once stood by me when no one else did. But Ethan had changed too. Now that I cover all our living expenses, Ethan uses his entire salary for himself. Custom-made suits, designer shoes, branded accessories. He used to be the one who stood between me and his parents' judgments. But now, he echoes them. "You're always glued to that computer," he said one afternoon. "You don't wear makeup anymore. And you live in sweatpants. Isn't that terrible?" I blinked, stunned. "What do you mean terrible? Do I need to dress up and wear lipstick just to sit at home?" He shrugged. "You might be okay with it. But it doesn't match me." "Doesn't match you?" I repeated, my voice hollow. "We're at home. What does it matter?" "It matters," he said, flatly. "Don't you want to look cute?" "For me." "Cute? What are you talking about? Is that really necessary?" Since that conversation, something cracked between us. Ethan, once my greatest supporter, had begun to drift. Now he complains alongside his parents. One night after dinner, I was on my way to the bathroom when I overheard them talking in the living room. "What's with Erica?" My father-in-law sneered. "Is she making fun of us?" "She thinks she's better than us because we used to live in public housing," my mother-in-law replied. "She doesn't lift a finger around here. She just wants to act superior. She studied Forex for a few months and now makes $20,000 a month. Anyone can do it," he scoffed. "She's not special." "That's right. I could do it too," she said. "She just got lucky with gambling, and now she thinks she's above us. And she's not even cute." "I always wonder who she thinks she is," my father-in-law muttered. Each word was a dagger. But the worst part? My husband said nothing. He just sat there, letting them strip me down, piece by piece, as if I wasn't even in the same house, let alone the same life we built together. I still get up every morning and have breakfast alone. We used to cherish those quiet early hours. Just the two of us before the world woke up. It was our time. A ritual of love wrapped in the smell of coffee and shared silence. But lately, he avoids me. "I'll grab breakfast on the way," he says, grabbing his tailored coat and slipping out the door without so much as a glance. One morning, after he left, my mother-in-law smirked and said, "Well, he must be tired of a wife who doesn't fulfill her duties." Duties? I nearly laughed. Not out of humor, but heartbreak. Isn't it enough that I fund this household, that I gave up recognition and comfort to build something sustainable not just for me, but for all of us? Isn't it enough that I chose to invest in growth while they clung to old expectations of what a woman should be? No one sees what I carry. Not the weight of being the provider. Not the isolation of being misunderstood in your own home. Not the pain of being slowly erased by the people you tried so hard to protect. And certainly not the fear of one day waking up and realizing that love isn't what's missing. Mrs. Stacy managed all the household chores flawlessly. She cooked, cleaned, folded laundry with such care it looked machine-pressed. In any other household, that would have been enough. But here, it wasn't. Any mention of traditional wife duties from my mother-in-law felt like a slap across the face. It was as if no matter what I did, how hard I worked, how much I provided, I was never enough. "We hold on to old-fashioned customs," she said one day, her voice as tight as her curled lips. "That's just how things are." I tried to explain myself calmly. As long as the housework is handled, what difference does it make who does it? I'm the one covering all our expenses. "Expenses?" she hissed. Do you think I'll stay quiet just because you throw money around for a few bills? A few bills? I paid the entire rent, the utilities, the food, the Wi-Fi, the housekeeper. I'd even paid off the last half of Ethan's car loan last year. But what truly stunned me was seeing how freely they spent now that they no longer had financial responsibilities. My mother-in-law, who once flinched at buying basic groceries, was now parading around the apartment building with brand name bags, her hair freshly styled and nails always done. I even saw her exchanging gifts with women her age, treating luxury items like social currency. My father-in-law, on the other hand, had suddenly discovered a passion for golf. His pension, which could have helped with household contributions, was now funneled into a sport he never once mentioned before. I noticed a brand new set of golf clubs leaning by the door, still with their protective wrapping. Meanwhile, I watched the zeros drain from my trading account each month to keep this whole ship afloat. But what choice did I have? They had nowhere else to go. And I still believed this was my family. Until the morning I stopped believing. A month had passed since Ethan stopped having breakfast with me. Our home, once filled with the warmth of shared coffee and quiet glances, now felt like a waiting room. We passed each other like strangers. He was always too busy or rushing to the office, though the office hours hadn't changed. Then came the business trips. He claimed he was exploring a new venture, importing LEDs from Korea. He was gone most weekends now, often flying out late Friday night. I told myself not to overthink it. I had no proof. I wanted to believe him, until I saw him. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon. Lily, my best friend, invited me out for lunch at a cozy Italian restaurant, the same one Ethan and I had once celebrated our anniversary in. We were sipping wine, laughing about the old days, when she suddenly froze. "Isn't that Ethan?" she asked, narrowing her eyes toward the entrance. I turned. There he was, dressed in one of his custom-tailored suits, laughing. As he held the hand of a young woman, petite, fresh-faced, barely in her 20s. "That can't be him," I whispered. "He's supposed to be in Korea." Lily reached for my hand gently. "Erica, I'm so sorry." My breath caught. The restaurant blurred. All I could hear were his words echoing back. "Don't you want to look cute for me?" Now I knew what he meant. He already had someone who looked cute, someone who fit the image he wanted, someone who didn't wear sweatpants at home because she was too busy keeping a roof over everyone's heads. The betrayal was no longer a suspicion. It was real. I didn't cry. Not right away. That night, I stayed up researching private detectives. By Monday morning, I had one hired. I wanted the truth, not to beg or to fix anything, just the truth. For me, as the days passed, something else caught my attention. Packages. More and more packages began arriving at our door, all addressed to my mother-in-law. One afternoon, I finally asked, "Mother, are you buying more things?" She looked up from her phone, clearly irritated. "Do I need your permission now?" "No," I replied, gently. "That's not what I meant." But it didn't matter. The online orders kept flooding in handbags, expensive skincare sets, limited edition shoes. I realized she'd found a new identity, not as someone grateful for help, but as someone entitled to more. I wondered how much longer I could sustain this. How much longer I could carry all of them on my back while being spit on from above. I had given everything, my income, my peace, my love. And in return, I became the outsider in my own home. But something inside me was shifting. The pain hadn't hardened me. It was crystallizing into clarity. The next chapter would be mine. The living room felt heavy with her disappointment as my mother-in-law ripped open the last package. Inside were 5 handbags cheaply made, obviously fake. "I got them on sale," she said, her voice uncertain. "But They look wrong. I leaned over and inspected one. You have to be cautious buying online, I said gently, though my stomach twisted. Especially when the deal seems too good to be true. They were, of course, counterfeit. Obvious fakes. How much did you spend? I asked. She looked away. 3,000. The number punched me in the chest. That was a third of the rent. Money I worked day and night to earn gone into the hands of scammers. Try contacting the seller, I said, already knowing what the result would be. Sure enough, the phone number was disconnected. Emails went unanswered. She had transferred money directly to a bank account. There would be no refund. No cancellation. Please, next time, don't jump at a low price. Especially for luxury goods. You're such a nag, she snapped, brushing past me. I went back to my room, the walls suddenly suffocating. I didn't want her money. I just wanted respect. Understanding. A simple acknowledgement that what I did mattered. But Sunday shattered even that. After dinner, I was clearing a few things when my father-in-law called my name. Erica, can we talk for a minute? I turned, sensing the storm before it hit. I heard something from my old colleagues on the golf course, he began, folding his arms. They say Forex is a scam. My heart dropped. Excuse me. They lure you in, he said with theatrical suspicion. Make easy money, they say. No risk. Then they take your money and disappear. Is that what you're doing? I blinked. You think I'm scamming people? He stared me down. Are you? No, I said firmly. I don't take people's money. I trade with my own. I've explained this. You think you can fool me just because I'm not tech savvy? He accused. I breathed in sharply. No. I've shown you my trades. My screens. The accounts. I'm not hiding anything. You're making too much money too easily. That's not normal, he barked. It's not easy, I replied, my voice breaking. I studied for months. I failed. I lost money. I worked hard to learn and finally found my rhythm. This isn't luck or deception, it's discipline. He scoffed. Meanwhile, I worked 40 years, and you sit in front of a screen all day. You don't even sweat. The words hung between us like poison. I felt something shift in me that night. They saw me as lazy, as fake, as less than. Never mind that I kept the roof over their heads. Never mind that I worked tirelessly from sunrise to midnight, managing trades, blogging, helping others learn what I had painfully mastered. To them, I was a fraud. To them, my value was invisible. The next morning, I received an email from the private detective. Subject line, confirmation, Ethan's affair. My fingers trembled as I clicked it open. Inside were time-stamped photos. Ethan at a cafe, his hand resting intimately on the back of that young woman's chair. Ethan at a beachside hotel. Ethan holding her shopping bags. Kissing her forehead. My chest tightened. The truth was sharp, but not surprising. He had chosen her. He had chosen vanity over loyalty, excitement over history, and appearance over reality. I closed my laptop and sat still for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply listened. To the quiet. To my breathing. And to a voice inside me I hadn't heard in a while. Leave. Not out of spite. Not out of anger. But out of self-respect. My father-in-law stood in front of me, puffing with pride and frustration. While you're lounging at home, I'm out there toiling, pushing new ventures. And you expect me to respect gambling disguised as work. His words struck like hail, cold and loud. What are you suggesting then? I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. That I give up Forex? If I stop now, how do you think we'll survive? Who pays the rent, the bills, the food? I can cover the rent, my husband interjected quietly, without meeting my eyes. He was wrong. And they all knew it. They refused to acknowledge that our lifestyle, Our very survival was balanced precariously on the income one earned every single day in front of that screen they all disdained. But they didn't care. Not really, because now they had each other. The following day, the results from the private investigator arrived. Just as I expected, Ethan was unfaithful. The woman was 25, 12 years younger than him. A colleague who had joined the company after I left. I didn't know her, but I knew the way he looked at her in those photos, gentle, admiring. The way he used to look at me. And yes, he had traveled to South Korea. Some of those trips were real, but others, they were weekends with her. I spent days haunted by that truth. Not because I still loved him, but because I had let myself carry so much for him, for them. And now they were throwing me away. That evening, after Stacy had finished dinner and left, my mother-in-law summoned me into the dining room. The tension in the air was thick. She sat across from me with cool detachment. "Erica," she began, "after discussing things with Ethan and your father-in-law, we've come to a decision." She didn't blink. "We're not comfortable with you being here anymore. We want to live as a family. Just us. You're not welcome." I blinked. "Excuse me. We've decided," she continued coldly, "that we can't live under a roof funded by deceitful money. Your attitude, acting like you know everything, is disrespectful. It's time you left." I looked around. Ethan wasn't home. He wasn't going to defend me. He wasn't going to beg me to stay. Of course not. They had made their decision. And without realizing it, they had set me free. "All right," I said calmly. No yelling. No pleading. No dramatic exit. Just the quiet liberation of someone who had finally had enough. That night, I packed my belongings and checked into a hotel. Days later, I began the divorce process, citing infidelity. Ethan didn't fight it. There wasn't much left to salvage. I received alimony. I transferred the condo lease to his name. Then I moved into a small, sunlit one-bedroom apartment, just for me. It wasn't flashy, but it was peaceful. And, for the first time in years, I could breathe. For months passed. Then, one afternoon, a message from Ethan appeared on my phone. "Can I talk to you? Please. It's important." I hesitated, but curiosity won. When the doorbell rang, I opened it to find not just Ethan, but my ex-in-laws standing behind him. Their faces were drawn. "Erica," he said, voice trembling. "I'm sorry. Please, come back. Live with us again." I stared at him, stunned. What happened? He looked down, unable to meet my gaze. Then, suddenly, he began to cry. "We can't afford the $4,000 rent," he choked out. "We're being evicted. We have nowhere else to turn." "We can't afford the $4,000 rent," Ethan choked through sobs. "We're facing eviction. We have nowhere else to turn. Erica, please. We need your help." I stood there in the doorway of my modest apartment, watching the three people who had once cast me out now begging to come back into my life. "What happened?" I asked coolly. Ethan cleared his throat. "After you left, I tried launching a new business, LED import sales. I partnered with a South Korean manufacturer to bring in specialized LED lights for factories and hospitals. But he faltered. But what? They were defective. The sockets were weak. Customers said the bulbs would detach and fall. Dangerous and useless. Everyone returned them. And we couldn't get support from the Korean manufacturer. Poor communication. Bad contracts. It all collapsed. I had to resign. I exhaled slowly. "What were you even thinking?" I muttered under my breath. But he wasn't done. With the business gone, I decided to try Forex trading. Like you, I used what little money I had left to buy a new computer and start. But I had no experience. Made one big trade, lost it all. I raised an eyebrow. No training? No risk management. He shook his head. None. My ex-father-in-law stepped forward. I tried investing my savings in the stock market. Thought I could grow it, but my timing was awful. Lost most of it. So here they were. Broke. Homeless. Standing on the doorstep of the woman they once scorned. But we're divorced, I reminded them plainly. Yes, we are, Ethan said, tears returning. But please, we need your help. I'm begging you. And your young girlfriend? I asked sharply. I lost contact with her after I lost my job, he admitted, shamefully. I couldn't help but scoff. Not surprising. Hard to hold on to a girl who was never in it for the struggle. Ethan's voice cracked. Erica, you're the only one I want now. Let's try again. Please. My ex-in-laws chimed in quickly. We misjudged you, Erica. Truly. We were wrong about everything. About you. About your work. We're so sorry. Ethan reached forward. I owe you the biggest apology of all. I misunderstood Forex trading. Accused you unfairly. I was ignorant. And I betrayed you. I'm so sorry. I promise I'll never hurt you again. I didn't flinch. No, I said clearly. Please, he whispered. We can be a family again. A happy family of 4. I said no, I repeated. If you continue to harass me, I will involve the authorities. The hallway fell silent. Their pleas dissolved into quiet shame. My ex-husband and former in-laws eventually left, disheartened and empty-handed. They were truly an unbelievable family. In the days that followed, I received a string of desperate calls from Ethan. Apologies. Promises. Begging. Each message was more desperate than the last. But my answer never changed. I declined. Firmly. I no longer cared to know what became of them. I had no desire to reopen a chapter one had already closed. As I continued working as a full-time Forex trader from home, something unexpected stirred within me, a quiet longing for companionship. Not out of loneliness, but from a place of growth and readiness. One evening, during a casual dinner with my friend Lily, I shared how I'd been feeling. I might know someone, she said with a smile. Smart, grounded, kind. I think you'd like him. She offered to arrange an introduction. Now, tomorrow, I have a meeting scheduled with Lily and this new person. I'm not expecting fireworks. I'm not rushing into anything, but I feel cautiously optimistic. This time, I'm not looking for someone to save or be saved by. I'm not looking to prove my worth or trade it for validation. I know who I am now. I've survived betrayal, disrespect, and manipulation. I've stood up for myself when it mattered most. I've rebuilt a life that's mine and mine alone. Tomorrow is just coffee, but it might be something more. Either way, I'm ready.